Hey, what's going on? This is Jerome. Today is a very good day. As you can see, I have with me Santa Claims, my good friend, Chris Edwards. He is also a good pool buddy, but he's a retired VA Raider. And I thought I could not think of anybody else but him to bring on to the channel to help those of you who are going through the medical board, and those of you who are about to leave service and thinking about VA disability and wondering whether or not you should apply for those benefits. Hey, so I am a service member who is about to get off active duty. Why in the world should I file? I mean, I got a lot of other pressures going on, Chris. I got to, think about a job. I got to go to SFL TAP. I have to get my resume together. I got to move my family. I don't know if I'm going to go to school. I could do this 6 months later or a year later. Why would I even consider it?
Because if you don't, you're walking away from money. Okay. So there's two programs, which we'll talk about, where you can either have your effective date start the day after you walk outside the gate and you have your 214, or you can have an effective date a year later. Okay. And if you're within that first year, you really don't have to prove service connection. Once you get outside that year, now you got to prove that it's service connected, which complicates the process. Plus, let's just say, well, I had 1 month. I had for the med board, I had 24 cases.
Really?
And all of them were 100%. So now their effective date is the day they walk outside the gate. They're automatically, because of being married, they're collecting $3,800 a month. So they get that first $3,800 the second month that they got out. So they get out on, let's say they get out on May. In June 1st, they get their first payment, because you're always a month behind. Okay. Now, if they had waited for a year to file, that would become their effective date. Now, what do you end up with? You end up walking away from about $35,000.
Wow. And would it be harder then if I decided to do it a year later? Like, do I have to prove more?
If you're outside of that year, then you have to prove service connection. And I know that there's a lot going on, especially with the resumes and stuff like that. But I've been in situations where I was unemployed, and I sent out 1,500 resumes and didn't get an interview. So what are you living on in the meantime?
Right.
Well, you get your disability coming in.
Right. Okay. And that's the reason why I think, I'm sorry, Chris, let me just say this one piece. That's the reason from a nursing perspective, that is the reason why it is so vital, in my opinion, and critical that you do go and file, because now you're leaving the military and you go through that. Some of us may go through that grieving period and missing the military and missing the camaraderie. And then it can create a spiral that, some of us may wind up at the VA seeking some attention, some medical attention or behavioral health attention. So if you take care of that financial stress sooner before you leave, it may reduce some of those other pressures that you may experience when you leave active duty. So sorry, Chris, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
When you're on active duty, you're automatically getting medical care. The minute you walk outside the gate, unless you have medical insurance, and a lot of people get medical treatment using the medical insurance of their spouse. But you got two military members that are married together. They walk outside the gate. Now they don't have any medical coverage. With filing for the VA, you can also file for the VA to be your primary medical care. So now you can walk outside the gate. You've been outside the gate, you hurt your foot, you can go to the VA and get treated for it. And you're not worried about getting this astronomical bill for, I mean, I can tell you about some of the bills we've gotten just for, the health care for my wife. So, it takes one of those worries that you have when you're getting out off the plate. Is it the best? Yes and no. Okay. When I was in St. Louis, I had a doctor who I'll be nice and not go into details, but was less than stellar. Okay. And I literally had to go to a patient advocate to get it straightened out. Now, since I've been here in Washington State, for a while there, I guess the first year or two, I had a new doctor every 3 months. So there was no continuity. But then I had a guy that I've had for probably, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years. And the treatment has been wonderful.
Yeah.
And if it's not, I know exactly where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the patient advocate, file a complaint.
Right.
Just make sure that you fight for what you, and do I care what the doctors think of me? Yes and no. I mean, I would rather they, hey, Chris Edwards is coming in today. I better be on my P's and Q's. Yeah, I want them to have that. They can call me a cantankerous old son of a who ditch it, whatever, all they want.
Right.
But I know when I walk in there, they're not going to talk to me like I'm an idiot.
There you go.
And they're not going to treat me any less than I deserve. Especially because there is a VA patient bill of rights. Is the expectation that you have of how you should be treated while you're there, treated by the VA. So read up on that, find out how to, apply that to your situation.
That's good information. That is very good information. And I hope that many of those who are watching this video would adhere to that information, because the VA is that safety net. If you leave, at least you have it. So by not applying for it, doesn't really kind of add up. Yes, you may find a job and they may give you care while you're at the job, but then here's the other situation. What happens when your body makes those changes and you're not going to PT as much, or your body may, slow down, and you may need to get seen for some of those conditions and taking time off, right? To go get seen for those conditions.
To give an example, because of the percentage of where I am, I've been treated by the VA ever since I got out of service. First thing I did was took my 214 and I got enrolled. So they have been my primary caregiver. Now, I always say I supplement with civilian, because like when I was in St. Louis and I had a doctor who was less than stellar, I had a civilian doctor that I went to that was a lot easier to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I needed prescriptions, like if I develop a tolerance to some of the allergy medications, then I could go to the VA and get a new one. And it doesn't cost me for the cost of the prescription. So it's like, when you got to sign that thing at the end of the year when you do your taxes, I've got full medical coverage.
Right.
And so now when I get treated, even in a civilian doctor, they look at my VA, they look at TRICARE, and now Medicare and Medicaid. So my out-of-pocket expenses are zero.
That's huge. That is huge. That's huge.
My wife went through some pretty serious surgery, and it was, the bill was like, God, it just killed me. I was getting this bill for $35,000. I'm going, what?
Wow.
But when we started applying all the TRICARE and her work benefits and that kind of stuff, we paid $25 out of pocket.
See,
for a week in the hospital.
Yeah.
So there's reasons for doing things that may not make sense to you now, but they will down the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, act like you know. It's going down. I'm your captain. It's going down. I'm your captain. It's going down. I'm your captain. It's going down. I'm your captain now. It's going down.